Hello everyone, Mark Valentini with PACC Legislative Affairs. You've probably heard by now that Congress just passed the CARES Act earlier today. And as I'm recording this, the bill is headed to the White House for the President's signature. It's the third spending bill that Congress passed in response to the COVID-19 pandemic. The first one, phase one, was an $8.3 billion emergency spending package that was passed about 2.5 weeks ago and was meant to deal with the immediate fallout of the COVID-19 pandemic. Phase two, which is a $100 billion spending package that was passed last week and includes paid family leave and paid sick leave provisions that I know a lot of us are concerned about. That bill was passed last week. That was phase two. Phase three is the CARES Act that was signed, that was passed earlier today. It's a $2.3 trillion economic stimulus package to help the country sort of weather the economic storm for the next 2 or 3 months. And so phase two and phase three are the two pieces of legislation that we really need to focus on right now. As you know, in phase two, you had these paid sick leave and paid family leave provisions in the bill that I know a lot of us are concerned about. For example, if you have an employee that's diagnosed with coronavirus or they're showing symptoms and they have to stay home, they're entitled to up to 2 weeks sick pay, not to exceed 80 hours, not to exceed $511 per day, not to exceed $5,110 during that 2-week period. Or if you have an employee that needs to care for a loved one as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, that employee is going to be entitled to paid leave up to 2 weeks at 2/3 their regular pay, not to exceed $200 per day or $2,000 total during that 2-week period. The big one, if you have an employee that has to stay home because of unexpected childcare responsibilities resulting from the COVID-19 pandemic. Specifically, for example, here where I live in Fairfax County, Virginia, the public school system has closed down its schools for the rest of the school year. And so parents need to stay home with those children. If they work for a company that employs 500 or less people, they would be entitled to 12 weeks of paid family leave at 2/3 their regular salary, not to exceed $200 per day or $10,000 total during that 12-week period. However, if you're a business with 50 employees or less, you could be exempted from these requirements if you can demonstrate that paying out that 12 weeks of leave poses an undue burden on your business operations. So as a business owner, you're hearing me tell you all of this, you're thinking to yourself, Mark, how am I going to pay for all of this? Well, this is where phase three, this is where the CARES Act comes into play to provide some relief. One of the key tenets of the CARES Act is specifically focused on small business and making sure that they have access to loans and liquidity quickly and without any kind of obstacles. So, for example, when you're applying for an emergency small business loan under the CARES Act, any requirements that you would normally have to fulfill in terms of trying to get a loan elsewhere, any collateral requirements, all of that's been waived. It expands the availability of lenders. And so, right there you have a lot of sort of that front-end paperwork that has been eliminated so that you can get a loan request processed in up to 2 weeks. Furthermore, sole proprietors and independent contractors are going to be eligible to apply for these small business loans as well. And these loans are going to be available at low cost, about 4% interest, which is deferred for 6 months, up to $10 million max, right? So that's your cap is $10 million. And the maximum loan amount that you would be eligible for is based on is based on your average monthly payroll, right? So let's say your average monthly payroll for the past year has been $1 million per month, right? you would be eligible for a small business loan of up to $2.5 million. So it's your monthly average payroll multiplied by 2.5, right? So if you have an average monthly payroll of $1 million, you'd be eligible for applying for a loan of up to $2.5 million. So on top of that, Section 1106 of the CARES Act it addresses some of the concerns that I know a lot of us have about family and medical leave requirements. So, any money that you borrow, any emergency loans that you pull as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, any money that you pay out in sick leave or family leave, all right, that amount is forgiven from the loan that you pull, right? So let's say you pull out a $2 million loan, right? And let's say you pay out roughly $500,000 in sick and family leave to employees that had to go because of the COVID-19 pandemic for whatever reason, all right? That loan would be forgiven. You'd be off the hook for about $500,000 of that loan under Section 1106 of this legislation. So, it's not perfect, but it does provide some significant relief for small businesses that are going to need it. The bill has been designed with a focus on small business because small business employs roughly half the U.S. workforce, 47% to be exact. And so this bill is injecting enough money into the economy and making loans available so that small businesses like yours can weather this storm and keep their doors open and the lights on as we endure this pandemic. So this will be this Phase 3 bill is going to be probably the last bill that Congress is going to pass for a while. They're not going to reconvene until the pandemic begins to subside a little bit. So until then, PHCC is going to continue to keep you guys updated on everything that's going on. And I hope you stay safe, stay vigilant, and God bless.